Let's kind of take a little different tact here. Let's talk a little bit about charitable contributions, philanthropy with regards to the family unit. How do you engage a family in the charitable process as opposed to an individual says, I'm just going to write a check, or I just want you to help me with this?
Gosh, this is my favorite part of the day, is working with families and understanding that intergenerational philanthropy lesson. Many people will say, oh, when my kids are a certain age, and I've seen all those numbers, and I say, pull that number down, because even our youngest family members are capable of understanding, giving, and volunteering at a very young age. But, for example, we've had any number of grandparents who want to set up a family fund with us, and they're going to do it at end of life with assets when they're done with them. Makes total sense. But what I say to them is, you can do the handoff, and we'll do the handoff for you when we receive your assets and teach your family what your intentions were. But if you have the capacity to carve out even a piece of that deferred gift and put it in play now and get your family around the table with you, not us, the lesson will be that much more meaningful to them.
You've talked a lot about the pros of how to get the family involved. Why? I mean, it's great in terms of, you're instilling a culture. Talk to me about, are there any cons to getting families involved? Is there anything that makes it harder or hard to do that people should kind of think about?
Well, if there are some outside of philanthropy tensions or connections that aren't quite solid within a family, it might be hard to get them all rallied around a collective pool of charitable dollars. In that case, we've had some families where we have a donor advised fund, we have a couple that started the fund, but the 3 adult children and their spouses each have their own pot from which to grant. That's just recognizing that there might not be natural connections, or the con being that they don't all have the same charitable interests.
So the dynamics of a family could be family-based charities, or they could be individual-based charities through a family pot. I think that's a little bit what you're kind of saying in terms of the pros and the cons.
It is. So, and even for any family, challenges or not, understanding the options. So if a couple has charitable intent, there's nothing saying they can't just make outright gifts and bequests directly to a certain number of organizations. Absolutely, they're privileged to do so. They can set up a private foundation. They can do a donor-advised fund at their local community foundation, or they can do some kind of a trust, or particularly a charitable trust, to do the grant making. Or they can set up a number of those vehicles, as I suggest.
Could you tell me a little bit about how family giving has changed? Has it? Are the tools being utilized? Have they changed? So what kind of trends are you seeing over the last, say, 10 years or so? Is there anything meaningful that you could kind of talk to?
Well, we have multiple generations in the philanthropic scene these days, so each one is approaching it a little differently. Senior folks are still the loyal donors. They're giving every year to a very short list of the same organizations, and making those investments based on their history with those organizations. The younger that you get, the more due diligence is being performed. The more each year, there will be no assumption of renewal. You will earn my gift, you will earn my time, and please don't have everything answered before I come to the table, because I want to be part of the solution. So it just depends on where folks fall on that continuum, in particular with age. Other trends I'm seeing probably include the timing of a gift. I think you're going to see less outright major gifts from the 70-and-a-half-year-old folks till their estates. I think you'll see more assets out of estates than during lifetime for those folks, because they're not sure what their investment returns will look like and how long they'll need to use those assets.
What tools can the DuPage Foundation utilize in helping families make gifts efficiently that achieve all the goals that your clients need?
when given the opportunity to sit down with a couple and/or their family, that's the perfect scenario where we have FaceTime, where we can sit down and let them tell us who they are, what experiences have they had, what board roles, what volunteer roles, and what giving have they done so far. So once we have that conversation, then we're looking for what's the best fit. I've also sat down with a couple for 2.5 hours where we literally at the whiteboard mapped out series of strategies of the to whom, how much, when, and with what assets scenario. So it's as simple or as complex as those family experiences are.